Hola, hola, mi gente. Here we are. I just wanted to say hello and talk about my experience. I'm bummed because I really wanted Alborada here to talk to you about it, but she just couldn't make it. And I just kind of wanted to share. I mean, the whole point of this stuff is just to set a goal and to accomplish something. Figure out who you are, how you run, what inspires you, your why, and then go after it. I'm I'm excited to see if any of you also hop on and share anything and have any questions because I will answer those too. Okay, so I'm going to keep that open and I am going to just kind of tell you a little bit about Ragnar. Okay, so a lot of people asked me last time I put up that what is Ragnar? I mean, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. And I wanted to share a little bit about that. So Ragnar Ragnar relays are organized. They're long distance team relays in scenic locations across the world, or I mean, country, but now the world. The first one that I did was in 2010, and I had no clue what it was about, but I knew I was pretty fit. It was 2010. I had just competed, and a gal at my gym invited me to do it. I didn't know anybody on the team. I just knew her because she was a member, and all of her friends, and I was in a van that was not with her. It was a total different van on this short bus. And it was the most challenging but fun, beautiful. I had just moved to Seattle. I mean, not just, but it was probably about 8 years, but I had never seen the terrain from Blaine, Washington, all the way down to Whidbey Island. So it was so beautiful just to be able to see all like where we live, the ocean, the land, the mountains, the ravines, Deception Pass, sleep in our van or outside or in the park or in the gym, wherever you transition at, because it is a 12, that one was a road one. The one that I just finished was a trail one, but the road ones are about 12 members. It's about 200 miles and there's 6 members in each of our vans. So there's one van that starts, the second van takes over at the end of runner 6 leg. So that is kind of what that one was. And it was beautiful just to see, again, all the terrain, all the course that was organized. I mean, that's what I love about the Ragnars is that you get to visit different cities or towns and just see just so much of where we live and the beauty of it and experience the air, the ocean, the mountains, the forests, the trails, and just it was gorgeous. So that was the 200 miles, 12 people. The one that I just did was a trail run in Bend, Oregon, that is 8 people, which we actually only had 7 because one of our members had something happen. I can't remember exactly what. So we only ran 7 legs, but we were able to complete it because that's what we kind of signed up for. And I mean, just like life, man, like shit happens. You're not going to stop and not do it because of it. We had these 3 crazy girls, crazier than I am, join us, which is kind of fun because we didn't know them either. And it just reminded me of back, when I first started and got into it. It was so great. Like, can you believe that? There was a group of 3 people that joined our team. So there was 7. And they were very strong runners. So it definitely picked up our time and definitely helped us just be able to compete. Because if that, I mean, there are some crazy people that do ultras that are only 4, but that is not me. I mean, and having this is my second one in a year, which I never do that. I mean, I did one in 2010, 11. I skipped 2012 because I got married and competed. I've done competitions during this whole time too. So just know that it's interweaved in this craziness. 2013, 14, I've captained 2 teams. And I got to tell you, that's a lot of work. That's why I give a lot of credit to Alborada because she organized all of these last 5 that I've done, and just did a hell of a job with spreadsheets and estimated times and themes, and just a variety of different things. You need a leader that would do that. I think that's kind of what we had talked about. That's why I kind of want her on that, talking about her experience, because like it's hard to find crazy people that'll do this, but it's out there. And the reason why I like doing Ragnar's is because this course is already set up for you by the organizers. It's safe and you're not alone. And you get to see all these beautiful, different landscapes. Like my first trail one was Zion, and the weather was so horrible that we actually got rained out. And my chancla got stuck in the mud, my flip-flop. I couldn't even pull it out. That's how bad it was. And after somebody broke their leg in 2015 in that same run, they called it, they said you can run in Paris, and they called it. So we just left and went to Vegas and ended up having a good time. So it was fine anyway. But then we went back in 2018 to finish what we started. Like, I love that. Our team was called Unfinished Business, and we did great. And we had a great time. I didn't realize, but I was pregnant during the first one. Ended up having Sophia. So she was 3 when she came to see that race and stay with us in the cabins. In Zion, you can also rent cabins and not camp, which was kind of nice, because we had 2, which was a sleeping camp. And then we had the other one, which was like the transition camp. So you sleep, you eat, and you run and rest in between. And that's all you do in these races. And you train for them. So you can't, I mean, people do just jump on in and do it. I don't recommend that. I want to have a good time. So ever since we've done these, I've always thought like, okay, it's always going to be something that I train for. It may not be my number one, especially in 2012 and 2013, because in 2012, I actually went to nationals. And in 2013, I went to nationals again. So it wasn't my sole goal, but it was something that kept my conditioning up while I was training for my competition. Because for me, that's just life, right? You just kind of get ready for it. You move along, you figure out what inspires you and why, and then you keep moving. Competition is a little bit more challenging because it's one-winged. You know, you have to really be strict on your food, be strict on your menu, on your training. And that can be it very unbalanced, right? It's very unbalanced. And then people talk about, well, Ragnar is very unbalanced too. Well, not if you cross train, because you can't just run. That's where you run into injuries. So it's always been a beautiful thing to train for me, because it's my opportunity to be able to do both, to strength train. Some days I lift hard. I love that Yvonne and I were talking about that. There's days where I want to lift hard, and there's days where I just want to run. And then there's days where I have to do something more flexible, like yoga and mobility work. And then there's other days where I'm just on my training schedule. It's not always the same, but it keeps things just lively and moving. And like I mentioned on this page with you guys, it was a joy just being able to train around here. It's a little hard to train for elevation when you live in Seattle. So I've had to go out to Tiger Mountain, I did Tiger Mountain East, I did Mount Si, and I did Cougar Mountain. And most of those were for elevation and for my long runs and a push. But Tiger Mountain was a lot of the speed work and was the tempo, because it's not as high. But the main reason why I decided to do Tahoe or Bend, and it was easy for Alvarado to talk me into it, was because I needed a redo. There was something in Tahoe that just tore me open. Like that mountain just spanked me and got me going in a different direction. Like I didn't train for that type of elevation, again, because you can't. So after my first leg in Tahoe, I had to walk within a quarter of a mile, and it was just the um, just the elevation got to me. I couldn't really handle it. It was crazy, but it was definitely my push that said, you got to redo this and train for this the right way. That's why I ended up going to the mountains and train a little bit more in that. And then was just so much better, like so much stronger. I felt awesome, like going in, coming out. I riding um, the up and down. You, as you've seen, I put up my red loop was definitely a 1,000 feet elevation gain. So it was pretty intense. And I just kept, I love up hills. I don't know, like I remember just training for a half marathon in Idaho called Race to Roby Creek. And I just loved the uphill because it was just so tough, and it pushed me and it pulled me and it made me feel all these different emotions, which is just life, right? Like that's the hard part. And then I just coasted on the way down, and I just felt really good. I trained with another group of people during that time, and it was just beautiful. I think that's probably why I love like setting goals for me. So that's the kind of person that I am. I'm a goal oriented person. I like to set a goal and then train for it and then achieve it. So a lot of the times it's just figuring out what kind of what inspires you. Is it more like what motivates you? Is it is it a goal? Is it a group? Is it self-motivated? But for me, it's definitely a goal. I think having something to train for really helps me go after it in the off. There were some times where like my knees were a little sore, and I knew I had to like include some biking and some other cross training so that I didn't have an injury. Thank God, knock on wood, that I don't have an injury out of this. Like my only injury has been in my wrist, and that was doing fitness competitions and all my handstand side hold work strength moves on my left side. It's funny, I'm right-handed, but my left side is what definitely takes the bulk of things. And that was my injury. And I just learned from that moment on that I had to do a lot of cross training, and I had to do other things. And then I had to figure out like the food. That's also the really inspiring thing. As you guys are going through the Mamacita Challenge and all the menus, I left it open this week just so you could see, part of it is just figuring out like how to feed yourself, give yourself what you need, understand your body. If some of you are training to lose weight, some of you are training to gain muscle, some of you are just trying to get on a plan, which is all great. All of those things help move you along. So it's figuring out, well, what are you eating? And are you eating frequently? Does that work for you? I've showed you how to hop on my Fitness Pal and do your goal and figure out what you're going to do, because that tells you how many calories you should be inputting based on your activity. I love that. It'll give you like, okay, if you eat this much, you're going to gain or lose about this much at the end of this week, which is awesome. But if you work out, then you're going to have to add a little bit more calories, because you're going to burn, and you're going to burn all those calories. In one of my runs, I burned like 800 calories. I mean, it was just so hard to figure out like how to eat around that. And by the time you're pushed and it's 2:00 in the morning, 3:00 in the morning, you're like, okay, what is not going to upset my stomach? So I had like a rice cake with peanut butter and bananas on it just for that night run, because I know I didn't eat a lot, but I knew that I had a 4.6 mile run at an incline of 400 feet elevation gain. So I definitely was going to work and use that. So I needed to gain a little bit more. I needed to have more calories in my body. And you're just tired and wiped out, and you're just trying to figure out like, oh my gosh, but but it's also on the flip side, after doing competitions, and restricting my food. Like it's crazy. People think like you ate really little. I don't eat really little, but I eat the same thing. That's the difference. That's why it ends up working. I eat the same thing every day, a variety of different proteins, a variety of different carbohydrates, and a variety of different fats. No processed foods, minimal fruit, but based around your activity level. And it's like I said, it's very untipped, unbalanced. And so when you're doing something like this run, it is very different. It is a lot of of fast calories, but that's not going to upset your stomach or not make you go to the bathroom in the middle of your run. and that's just, I mean, it varies too from one race to the next, because I think in Tahoe that was really, it was really different. Like the rice cakes sustained me. The burritos, I had, a breakfast burrito in the morning, and then I had a lunch burrito or a bowl at in the afternoon, right after my runs. Those are my heavier meals, were after my runs, because I feel like I had a little bit more time to digest them. And then I would have like a smaller meal, like tuna, with some crackers and some, I think this time around I did Fritos, which I normally don't do, but I was like, hey, I got to get some oil and I got to get some corn, some, carbohydrates in my body. And that sounds good, because it's also like, oh my gosh, what even sounds good? I couldn't figure that out. I had a burger after my heavy 7-mile run, which my husband made on the grill, which was awesome. But I didn't eat a burger in Tahoe. There was no way I was going to eat a burger that big of a meal. Like the bowls were enough, and I kind of cut them in half, and I ate a little bit more later on. I mean, so that just kind of gives you a little window of, what you're training for, what is your goal, what you want. If you're lost in that aspect, I want to hear about you. I want to hear from you ladies too. Like part of it is, well, if you feel lost, what does your food look like? That's why I use programs like MyFitnessPal. There's a couple of you that are on here that use Lose It. That's also a good one. There's a couple other good ones. Can't remember the other ones right now at the top of my head, but those are always good because you can write in and write down your food, and then figure out like, oh man, I'm way under. I don't recommend going under like 100, 200 calories below your what you're burning. I really, especially when you're doing an activity like this, when you're not working out, you're sedentary, that's okay to do. Like that's just an opinion. I'm not a nutritionist, sis. I should really emphasize that. I'm not a nutritionist, but this is just years of working with people. And honestly, all I have to do is direct them to MyFitnessPal and then keep them accountable on that. That's what they pay me for, is more the accountability on that end. And then seeing like, okay, let's try this. I just got into the Whoop strap, which actually gives you a heart rate, gives you your recovery, gives you your strain, and tells you how much sleep or how much you should strain, you should push yourself based on the amount of sleep that you had. This time around, for the next 4 weeks, I am working on my sleep. I know a lot of you don't believe me, but I am. I'm working on the amount of sleep that I take, because I feel like that's the only way now to grow in my fitness, is like really excel in that end. So I know I've talked, I hit a lot about that. I talked to you about what Ragnars are, and then just kind of figuring out a goal. If you have any questions, you let me know, send me a message, DM me, or email me, whatever works for you. Watch the video, make some notes. I do keep notes, and Natasha definitely helps me figure out any questions that people have for this, so I do address them. So that's it, mamacitas. Cuídense, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers. Oh, this is my t-shirt from Ragnar Relay. They always have like really cool gear. And this is my cup too. I have to share with that. Viva la mujer. And you guys are my mamacitas. So, you know, I'm thinking about you and I am supporting you. It's crazy. I did find out that one of the gals that was going to run with us and didn't, lost weight too quick and got injured. And I want to prevent that. That's the whole reason why I started these. Everybody's trying. It doesn't matter. My sisters, my family, everybody's trying to lose weight. There's a way to do it in a healthy way. There's a way to do it so that you can take care of your body and love your body and live longer and have more quality of life. I want to share that. I think just training people for almost the 20 years that I've been training people, I've seen them. I've seen people get the lap band surgery. I've seen people get bariatric surgery and grow another stomach, and I've trained them. I've seen people get liposuction, and I've trained them. I mean, and the response is always the same. Like, I should have given you thousands of dollars that my insurance covered, which is another thing, but I don't want to go there because, I mean, it's half the price. It's not even half the price. It's a quarter of the price. And I'm just learning and growing so much. And I'm really taking care of myself. And that really is what it is. This is what you're responsible for. This is the only thing you really live in or that you really own. So you got to really handle that. Like, take care of that for yourself, by yourself. Nobody's going to do that for you. And once you got that, then you can just be more joyful because your quality of life is so much better. And that's what keeps me going. I mean, that's why I've been doing all these different programs, bridal boot camp, fitness competitions, like all of these, and with the whole goal of being healthy at the end of your goal, and then having a sustainable lifestyle after you're done. And it doesn't mean that you're totally restrictive or so hardcore. It's just having a good balance and listening to your body and figuring out what it means to give yourself what it needs or give yourself what you want. Like, if you haven't heard the last podcast that I put up, it's with Caitlin, and she's in my bridal boot camp. And what I love that she said that was really motivating is, we were talking about emotions and feelings and how, you know, you don't have to, you can feel your feelings, but you don't have to become your feelings. And she said, it doesn't have to be the decision maker. And that was right on. You could feel that it doesn't have to be your decision maker. You can sit with it for a second and then ask yourself if it's going to make me feel good tomorrow, you know, and then move forward. But that's what you're in charge of. That's part of being, you know, responsible for you. Just imagine if everybody took responsibility for where they were at. It'd be awesome. All right, mamacitas. Hasta luego. Cuídense. Let me know if you have any questions. And as always, I'm here for you. Okay, ciao.